All right, guys. Thank you for joining our L&D webinar, and this is something that we regularly conduct from SkillUpRight, just because we want the best practices from all the L&D leaders to share it across to the other L&D leaders who are joining us. So we'll start the session in a couple of minutes. Just before that, we just want to give a quick intro about the company. So SkillUpRight is a corporate training partner, and we try and deliver IT training, process training, and soft skills training. So this is what exactly we do. And since we have a lot of L&D leaders joining in, I guess you might have already received an email as a reminder. So we have actually created a community on LinkedIn, just because and this is purely for HR and L&Ds, so that they can share their best practices. So in the signature you can find the hyperlink to join the LinkedIn community. If you're interested to learn more, or if you want to share any best practices, you are most welcome. At the same time, we also keep conducting webinars or maybe a panel discussion like this with L&D leaders. If anybody is interested, they can shoot us an email, and whenever we schedule, we'll have you as a speaker or a panelist for an L&D discussions. So so this is our LinkedIn page, specifically where we have created for L&D community to skill up right your employees. We have close to 500 people, L&D leaders, who have joined. So we only approve only HR and L&D fraternity over here. So like I said, if you want to share your best practices and want to learn more from other leaders, this is a platform we have created, and you can be part of it. Okay. So, right, I think without wasting much of time, we will just quickly start the session. So today we have our speaker. Just a moment. Just let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. All right. So today, the topic is all about L&D as a game changer, and we have a speaker who is MBA and also certified learning development manager from Middle Earth. She has more than decades of experience working specifically in the fintech industry, like companies like Pfizer, Finastra, and so on. So she has been instrumental in establishing L&D function, aligning with business and organization goals, and also nurturing and culture in the organization. Also, she is involved in setting up L&D policies, process, and metrics-driven learning organization. She is a thought leader in the L&D space, amalgamating concepts like agile, design thinking in learning intervention, transforming traditional learning methodologies to digital ways of upskilling. She is also a facilitator for leadership and behavioral training. Currently, she is working in Finastra, leading a learning enablement function for 5,000 employees across the globe. She's passionate about developing women leaders. So let's, without wasting much of time, we'll all put our hands together in welcoming our speaker today, Ankita Shastri. Ankita, over to you.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. You've flattered me with the introduction. So I'm just going to start my presentation. Let me know if you can see it. Is the presentation visible?
Yeah, I'm able to view it. Attendees, maybe you can just leave a message on chat as yes, if you're able to view it.
Okay, great. I guess you can see the screen and you can hear me also very well. Please confirm. Great. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome and thank you for such lovely and kind introduction. I'm Ankita Shastri, as you know, and today's topic is L&D as a game changer. And before I get started, I would like to thank SkillUpRight, both Naveen and Vinod, for hosting such an insightful webinar series for L&D and HR community. And of course, extending this opportunity to me to share my research and experience with you all. Thank you so much. Few ground rules. Feel free to post your questions in Q&A window whenever they arise throughout the session, and towards the end we will discuss the questions. So though Naveen has given the introduction, I would like to just say a few things about me and give some a little more introduction about myself. As you know, I hold a bachelor degree in computer science and a human resources master's degree into human resources from Pune University. My passion lies in process improvement. That is something I'm professionally passionate about, because I strongly believe that small and step-by-step improvements can lead to a great change. Apart from L&D, I think you heard in my introduction, I am also a site ambassador for Women at Finastra program. This program is basically dedicated towards developing future women leaders, and I'm also a soft skills trainer for leadership trainings and trainings. Some of my hobbies are I enjoy reading, I love to travel, and outdoors games as well. Talking about my family, we're a family of three, my husband and my 5-year-old daughter. Both of them keep me on my toes and inspire me to do better and better every day. If I have to describe myself in a quote, it would be if you want to achieve something you never had, then you have to do something you never have done. And let me say that again. If you want to achieve something, or if you want to have something that you never had, then you have to do something which you have never done. In other words, which means that we have to constantly challenge ourselves to do better every time, come out of our comfort zone and challenge the status quo. And I think the same thing applies to every industry, every function, and of course to the learning and development as well. And that is what we are going to discuss in today's webinar, that when everything around us is changing, how can we as learning and development make an impact on the business and on the workforce? On that note, let me just take you through the agenda. We will first discuss the skills revolution 2.0. Then we will look at why L&D function matters more than ever now, what has changed. We will look at some key trends, what is trending in 2022 in learning space. We will take a look at some of the upskilling best practices, and towards the end, we will have a ask, share, and learn session. I'm not calling it Q&A. I'm calling it ask, share, and learn, so that we all can share with each other and learn from each other's experience. Okay, so talking about skills revolution, we are currently in the midst of skills revolution, where helping other people upskill and adapt to the fast changing world of work is today's most important challenge. Individual with in-demand skills will have a choice to work, where they work, their working conditions, the compensation brackets. While those who do not have in-demand skills will be at a greater risk of left behind. So if people want to ride this wave and dictate the terms, they must nurture their learnability. That is their desire and ability to learn new skill and to stay relevant and remain employable. It is going to be the most important skill of the future. Another crucial aspect would be the continuous or lifelong learning, which is again, it's going to be a new survival skill. Be it fear of automation or unpredictable future or pandemic like this or complex jobs if you're working in, continuous learners will be best placed to deal with it all. So to sum up, first thing is the learnability, your ability to learn new things, and the continuous learning will be placed at the top of the list. These two skills or these two things will be placed at the top of the list. And how we as learning and development function orchestrate these two to our employees will make us a game changer. Now let us see why L&D function matters more than ever now. What is change? What is now happened, so that you know that there is a most important thing that we should now focus on. We as L&D function will only get the seat at the table, and we'll be able to make an impact on the organization when we think of what market problem we are solving. That's the only way to get the seat at the table or ensure that we are making an impact, to think about which is that market problem I am solving or my function is solving. If you look around with which challenges market is currently facing, you would realize currently what you see around is a lot of people resigning. So that's correct. The great resignation is what market is currently facing. In America alone, 4.5 million people voluntarily left their positions in November 2021, which is an all time high record, according to the agency that's responsible for collecting the data. And you also see the similar trend in India. You see around, a lot of our colleagues are resigning. You would see this great resignation wave hitting a lot of sectors very badly. Because people these days are now looking for better opportunities, and they're looking at an organization which will provide them a career rather than a job. So the now question is, how can we solve this problem? We know that market is facing this problem. How can we support? So that's where typically L&D teams have been leading through the forefront and implementing the innovative ways to handle remote onboarding, remote trainings, enhancing the workforce productivity in the virtual setting, and finding newer and newer ways to support the hybrid workplace. Now that we have set the grounds and we know why it is important, what we have to do, now let us see what are the current barriers for our employees in learning or self development. So, if I could request to create a poll, please. Naveen, Vinod, if one of you can help me. I would like to understand what are some of the common barriers that you are facing or the employees in your organization are facing while they're leaning towards learning or upskilling. What are those typical challenges? Can we please roll the poll, please? You would see a question on your screen. What are your biggest barriers to job related learning or professional development? There are various reasons which a learner could think of. Okay, I see a lot of people saying that people don't have time or make time to lack of guidance or direction. So people not having time is the topmost reason so far. Biggest barrier, I would say, followed by lack of guidance or direction. Great. So I think we've got a clear and very transparent answer what could be some of the in learning or in upskilling people might face. One of the reason, topmost reason is people don't have time to learn. When they have so many things to do out of their busy schedules, how do they find out time or make time to learn? A very universal reason, I would say. The second barrier on the top is lack of guidance or direction in learning. So this is more for an organizations that people do not have guidance or direction about learning. That's second prevailing reason I see. And third one is the learning of at work is not engaging. Okay. So thank you so much for the responses. I think it's great to hear and know what is happening across industry, and you would not be surprised to know that is what the studies and research also says. Now, these all of these barriers, if we take a look at it, they can be put into two categories. First one is the organizational, the barriers which organizations are creating, and the individual barriers. Most of the organizations feel that they are doing everything they can, but they do not see the impact. They don't see the result. That's because most of the organization end up using a cookie cutter approach to upskilling. They go with the notion that one size fits all. And on the other hand, individuals say that while my organization provides there's no time to learn at all, and that's what we have seen in the results as well. So what do we do as a LND function? What do we do to curb this uh, barriers? How do we address these barriers? So let's take a look at some of the key trends in 2022. What is that we can do and address these barriers? The first and foremost, I would say, is the personalized learning. Uh, we all know that blanket or one size fits all approach is not the effective way of learning. Personalization is very critical when we design any learning program. We have to consider the strengths and needs, skills, and interest of various employees when designing any learning approach. And accordingly, we tailor the what, when, where, and how for each employee group. So you may want to reach at the same learning target or learning group, but the way people will reach there has to be different and has to be tailored to how these people think, how these people feel, what is their learning priority, and how do they learn. So this approaches should definitely vary based on what they know and how they learn best. So we'll look at the multiple examples in few in few more slides. It is very similar to the example of a dietitian. A dietitian cannot recommend the same diet to everyone. That would be a cue. So definitely there has to be a personalized diet, very similar to the exercise, the physical exercise. The exercise for everyone has to be different according to the body type, according to the need, according to the goal. So a runner or athlete may have a different exercises than a normal regular person. So that's how the mental exercise, the learning has also it also needs to be curated according to the learner. That's what we call as the personalized learning. The second important trend that I would like to talk about is creating conditions to learn. Now, employees require leadership support in terms of time, resources, and demonstrated commitment that leadership values their development. You must have seen in the barrier in some of the barriers which we just now put that people don't have time, people do not have direction or the guidance. So that's why organization investing in creating the favorable condition for learning are often seen to have a very strong learning culture and more engaged workforce, which is keen on self-development. So we have to ensure that we create right conditions for people to learn and they get the right opportunities, they feel motivated, they feel supported and guided. So we'll look through the examples which will make it more clear what it actually means by creating the conditions for learning. The third trend, which is riding the wave and which is everywhere, is gamification. It is a great aspect to increase overall engagement by capturing learners' interest and inspiring them to progress in the learning program. It can actually be a very low to no investment project with incredibly high returns. We can use the levels to define the learning journey, set the live leaderboards where they can see how they are doing as against their peers, build community, encourage some healthy competition, the internal competition, offer badges and certificates. And there is a lot of done in gamification, a lot of innovative ways. Of course, towards the end, we can measure the impact, and you would see a great result in terms of gamification. The fourth trend that I would like to talk about is micro learning. So, as they say, the less is more enough and impactful. The bite sized sessions, short videos, short articles are the best suited in today's digital era, where we all are trying to minimize the screen time. We're dealing with the reduced attention span, and we are struggling to find time for self development in the busy schedule. We already know that a lot of people are saying that they do not find time for learning. So, what is the best that we can do is reduce something in the chunk size, in a bite size, which doesn't become a overburden for people, and something they can actually fit in their day-to-day schedule. Something that you can really read when you're switching the calls from this call to that call, or taking a walk, or maybe doing your day-to-day household. So something that you can actually fit into that time will be something that will be more accepted and will have more impact. The next trend is more of an evergreen strategy that's always encouraging learning, and it is to guide, enable, and reward. Research shows that encouragement, recognition, and guidance are in short supply. So there's a huge opportunity in improving the management because workforce really thrives when managers give them learning recommendation or they open up the development opportunities for their people, and together manager and employee agree on the relevant goals. So we need to ensure that we provide a proper guidance. We enable people to take those programs, take those paths, and we reward them for the right behavior. Now let's see some of the great examples of how these key trends can actually be implemented at the work. Let's look at some best practices. So we saw one of the biggest barrier is giving time to learn. People do not have time to learn and show the commitment towards learning. Gauging this pulse, we have launched an initiative called DEAL. The DEAL is an acronym for Drop Everything and Learn. I'll just repeat DEAL, which stands for Drop Everything and Learn. So every member in Finastra, this is the recent program that we have implemented in Finastra. So every member in Finastra is officially log 1 hour of learning every week, and they can use this 1 hour to do anything, right from upskilling. They can learn a new skill, they can cross skill, they can get deeper, they can read a book, they can listen to a podcast. So they can choose to spend 1 hour on any skills or anything that they would like to develop. This is also cascade their goal or a OKR, what we call, and it becomes measurable. Now we try to be really innovative here. Employees can have their own My Deal story with how do I spend my deal time. They can post it on social media on things like Yammer or our internal social media. We also spotlighted deal series of top learners and leaders to showcase what they are learning and how they are making time for learn. So this was a great illustration of social learning, and we saw a huge response for that. You must have witnessed a lot of social media campaigns trending last year where people were posting their black and white photos, they were posting their traditional photos in sari, and now and then TED challenge campaigns. So a lot of such campaigns were happening last year on Facebook, where you need to tag your friends and then your friends need to follow the same and they have to tag someone and the chain continues. So we thought, why not replicate the same model in the learning space? So we created this campaign for the My Deal stories, and we challenged our employees to post their stories, tag their colleague on Yammer, and ask them to share their own deal stories. Trust me, it went viral. It made a lot of people learn something or the others, share it with others, and continue the chain. So it was in a way a peer pressure that we built, a positive peer pressure, I must say. And of course, if you see one of your leaders talking about the book that he or she read and how beneficial it was, you will naturally tend to at least read the summary of it, right? So that's the power of social learning and using the peer pressure positively. So that's how the deal campaign was really a success for us. Now, another best practice I would like to share is about the onboarding bootcamp. One of the biggest challenges working from home has created is to onboard employees effectively and minimize the time these new joiners take to be productive in the project and assimilate them in the organization culture. And of course, there are many more, but these are majorly the few main challenges that we are facing when we onboard people digitally. They take time, they take a lot of time to be productive, to get accustomed to the organizational culture. So with this in mind, we have set up a digital onboarding bootcamp so that we create the right conditions for the new joiners to learn and adopt fast. So this bootcamp, what we have set up, it focuses on 3 Ps: people, product, and process. And it is designed with an objective in mind to provide the new joiners a similar onboarding experience which they would have had in office. Now, people part of this program focuses on ensuring to create a strong network because people lose the people touch, the human touch. They're not able to see the people around. Otherwise, if you're in office, you would meet people at the reception, meet people at the lunchtime, at the coffee table, anywhere. So how do we create that strong network? How do these people connect with leaders? The product part focuses on developing an in-depth understanding of the core process, and the process third part, process third P, that is to understand the various processes running in Finastra. Now, this is a blended learning program, which is a combination of self-paced courses, deep dive sessions on product and processes, and various functions in the organization. We also do some of the knowledge check through assessment so that we know how they are studying. They're just not sitting through the Teams call. And there are various engagement sessions around it, like hobnob with leaders, where they know the leaders more than a professional face, and a lot of networking opportunities through some of the professional speed dating session. So, in a way, this two bootcamp allows people to know more about the organization and organizational culture. They form a ready-made network of colleagues whom they can bond with. They can reach out to if they have any queries, and get their things resolved faster. Build that initial connect with the leaders so that you know the leaders. You can ask any question that you have right to the leaders, and most importantly, it gives them a jump start in their project. They become productive faster, and it creates a long lasting amazing onboarding experience. So that's about the onboarding program, one of the best practices we have followed. Now I would like to share two great practices of how gamification can bring life to the entire learning program and how it results into a great impact. So, cloud is one of the critical skills at Finastra. It is a building block of our 3-year mission, what we call as Reach Beyond. So, cloud is really very important. And we wanted to ramp up our folks on the cloud and get as many people certified as we could in a shorter time period. Because as an organization, we want cloud skills to be developed at various competency level in everyone. So we partnered with Microsoft Brainstorm and launched a gamified learning approach called Clouds Learnathon. In this learnathon, any learning activity related to cloud would yield the learner some points. So maybe if you take a self-paced course, you will get some points. If you take a classroom session or a quiz, or if you appear for a certification, or if you do some learning recommendation, any learning activity that you do in cloud will give you some points, and you accumulate these points. So people were competing against each other, and there was a live leaderboard showcasing their progress. So people were thrilled to see how they're doing, how many points they're collecting, and how they're doing week on week, how they're progressing. Few top learners were rewarded in the end, and we saw an overwhelming participation for this learnathon, and people enjoyed the format thoroughly. In a very less time, we saw the cloud knowledge quotient gone up high, very high. Uh, Consider this to be done in otherwise scenario if this was not gamified. Having so many people going through the certifications, going through the trainings, preparing them, and building that skills would have taken a lot of time. Not only time, we wouldn't definitely have such an engaging participation and such high numbers and such a great impact. So that's where gamification helps you change the entire concept, or change the way learners perceived your learning program. The another example of gamification is hackathon. Most of you must be aware about the hackathons, the external hackathons appear. At Finastra, we use as a great tool for gamified learning what we call it as hack to the future, and there's a series of hack to the future that happens. It is actually much more than a learning program. It is a holistic learning experience, and applied learning in itself, right from ideation, research, presentation, teamwork, collaboration, creating POCs, a lot of interviews. So it is much more than just a learning experience, but in a gamified way, I think people enjoy it thoroughly. So how it works is every hackathon has some dedicated themes or problem statements that we would like to solve. Then participants are required to create teams. Now they team up with the folks across globe. They have to network. They have to ensure they have to find out the like-minded people who can work on the idea. They have to come up with some ideas related to those themes, brainstorm, create their story, create the POC. They have to study and research a lot in this entire process. Then present this idea, make the ideas presentable first, and then present it to the panel. They have to go through the multiple round of interviews, and then towards the end there are few hack ideas shortlisted which are further productized. So it brings immense learning to the participation there, because there are a lot of skills at stake in the arena when some of these events are at place. You have to study a lot of emerging technologies, you have to study what would fit in, you have to do the customer survey. So you have to look at the case study from all angles. So I think something like this, which is out of their day-to-day work, but in a way related to what they are going to do in future. People really love this format, and I'm proud to say that we at Finastra have productized a lot of ideas from hackathons. So if you have not tried in your organization yet, I'm going to vouch for it. It is a great way of learning and a great opportunity and a gamified practice to start. The another best practice I would like to share is learning nuggets. So it is a form or a great example of micro learning. As I said, the less is more. We run Learning Nugget series into our learning newsletters. You can learn a concept in less than 2 minutes. So if I tell you that you get to learn something in less than 2 minutes, that immediately catches the attention, because I know I don't have to spend like the whole day. I'll get to learn something in a very shorter time period. So it could be a short paragraph, it could be a short video, an excerpt from a podcast, or anything that is presented in a small size. So we cover multiple topics under this series, like tips on developing some soft skills. How do you present yourself? Or one tip that we ask for leaders, that how do you manage your time better? Or one tip uh, to kind of host a great meeting. So a very small tip, which is very practical, a good takeaway, and it doesn't take much of your time. We also publish the leadership news, which talk about the various leadership aspects. That is something has really become popular in Finastra. We also do things like product awareness and a lot more. If you have to bought a product in less than 2 minutes, how would you do that? So these bite-sized sessions are very popular. They have the highest impact. Most of the companies today are repurposing their contents into a micro learning fashion. So if you remember, in the earlier era, we used to have a lot of PDFs, documents on content, which used to run for 4 days, 5 days. Those days are definitely gone. What we should now focus is on repurposing our content, recalibrating our content into a micro learning fashion, so that it is easy to understand for people, it is digestible, it fits into one's attention span, and so that it has more acceptance compared to the long and time taking content. So micro learning definitely a strategy to go, something that yields the 100% results and has the great impact. So the next best practice that I would like to talk about is on personalization. And I couldn't have found a better example than Microsoft's ESI portal for personalization. So what you see on the screen is a screen grab of the Microsoft's Enterprise Skills Initiative portal. So they have this learning portal for all of their partners. If you're a Microsoft partner, you can, and your employees can use it. I'm sure a lot of you must be using it. So it offers a personalized approach of learning for every type of learner. So if you are someone who loves to take your own time and read on your own and learn on your own and at your own pace, at your own timelines, setting your own timelines, then you can take the self-paced learning paths that's available there. If you're someone who are more extrovert, you prefer social learning, or you enjoy discussing it in a learning group, then there are something called as training days for you. Or if you like to be told, if you like a facilitator around you, then you would have a Microsoft senior facilitator hosting those training days for you. If you're someone who learn by doing, or trying our hands, then we have deep dive workshops where they let you try your hand on sandbox environments. Those are like long sessions. You can sit through, you can try the labs, you can do on your own. You have mentors around where you can talk to them, get your queries resolved. So if you're that type of learner who learn by doing, then this is the preferable mode for you for learning. If you're someone who would like to set the target for yourself and then work hard towards achieving it, then you can sign up for certifications, the Microsoft certifications. So it lets you take the training or the learning that you want. It has the prep test. You can set up the date for yourself, ensure that you are all set for it, take the test, and once you crack it, that's kind of a lot of people who gets that sense of achievement in having certified, in taking the test. So it is more suitable for that group of learner. So it basically allows every type of learner to choose the learning approach they're most comfortable with. They something that they would like to they'll enjoy. So I think that's what we also need to bring in our all of our learning programs, which offers the flexibility to learners to choose the way they prefer to learn. Is it the pace? Is it the time? Is it being introvert, extrovert? If you like to do it with group, if you'd like to learn on your own. So allowing that choice of approach gives a great personalization. One more example of personalization, I just can't resist sharing it here. There's a great feature called Skill IQ, and it is offered on a Pluralsight platform. I'm sure a lot of you must be aware of the Pluralsight licenses. That's the website for technology training. So there's a feature called Skill IQ. Now, what happens is it requires you to take an assessment at the beginning of every learning program. So let's say if I would like to learn Java, it asks me to take the assessment at the beginning. Let's say out of 10, I'm good at 4. Then it curates the learning path according to learner's profile and the assessment results. So if I'm good at 4 parts and I need improvement in the rest of the 6, it will curate the content in such a way that I only have to take that remaining 6 parts. So it is actually a time saving approach and a great approach of personalizing the content. So you only need to take the part of the course which you have scored less on. So personalization is the key. The more personalized the learning program is, it will be better appealing to the participants. They wouldn't get bored of something that they already know, or it also will not be overwhelming from them. So personalization is the key. The another Lastly, I would like to talk about the last upskilling practice that I always endorse. That if you reward a good behavior, you would see that behavior repeated more often. So reward people and encourage their learning behavior. We can really get creative in terms of rewarding our folks rather than sticking to the old school methods. So when you see there is a great learning behavior of someone demonstrating, reward them. And how do you do them? We of course have points and badges. So assign the points to every learning program. Define the levels employees achieve according to the points. It could be like if you complete XYZ program, you achieve level 1, you achieve level 2. Give them points and badges. Spotlight the top learners. That's again a great way of recognition when you spotlight them. You can have their spotlight stories in town hall, in newsletters, or you can interview them. You can publish their learning stories, that how they make time, how do they dedicate their time, and what have they learned, what is trending. You can find out what is trending in your own organization, what is that people are learning. This encourages the social learning, and it is a great way of highlighting the talent. Another way is we can also fund the conferences or certifications. A lot of conferences happening out there, the global conference. Why not fund people to attend it, represent our organization, or present a white paper, or attend the competitions or external hackathons, or fund them the certifications? Who would not want to be a certified, have credentials on their resume? So fund the conferences, certification. So it creates that compounded learning effect. You learn something, and as a reward, you get to learn more. So it's like a win-win for the learners. It is a win-win for us as well. We can also give them some books, magazines, subscriptions, So in one of my organization, we had gifted HBR subscriptions to people. So it was great to read. If I get HBR magazine to read as a subscription, it makes my day. Licenses, like in our organization, we have limited licenses of plural site, and there's always a rush about who would get those licenses. So gift those licenses as a reward to people. Something called as surprise experience. So if we can customize what we reward to them, it could be like a tour to the museum or opportunity to host the event, a global event, or a funded guitar class, dance class, or maybe a meal coupon, a Zomato or Swiggy meal coupon, or not. Why not as OTT subscription? People these days enjoy spending their time on OTT subscription, or maybe a day off or a funded dinner. So there could be a lot of surprise experience which are again personalized to the learner's interest. So when we reward them and get creative about the way we reward, I'm sure people will learn, will love to spend time on learning. So in conclusion, what I would say is there are two things at the top of the list: learnability, the ability for people to learn, and continuous learning. Learning is not one time thing, it is a continuous process. It is crucial for all of our learners. How do we help people become learnable and continuously learn will define what we do and how we change the game. Remember the five strategies: personalized learning, micro learning, gamifications, creating right conditions, making sure there is a time for people so that they cannot crib that we don't have time. And lastly, don't forget to reward. So, in a way, I would like to sum up like that. And now, if we can take a look at some of the questions. Okay. There's a question from Vidya. I love the concept of professional speed dating. Thanks, Vidya. It is something that is really it's really famous. It is loved by all of the new joiners. I'll tell you what happens in it. Uh, we onboard people in multiple cohorts, and at a certain event in professional speed dating, we call all of the new joiners. Let's say in last 6 months, we block their time. We get them all together on a Teams call, and we put them in a breakout room of two. We create a pair of two, and they're asked to date each other. Now, when they date, the professionally date, there are certain questions given: what's your name, what is your role, maybe a childhood memory. So they need to talk about that. And in 4 minutes time, the breakout rooms go back, they come back in the main room, and then there's an opportunity to talk to or date to another person. So in a way, they get to talk to multiple people, they know multiple people, and it becomes so easier for them that the folks they have been talking to regarding project related work, they get to know them out of work as well. So it is really, I mean, we've seen such huge participation, and it is really loved by all the participants. So thank you for that. Can we get recording of this session? Maybe I think Naveen, you can answer this. Naveen or Vinod? This question from Vishal: how do you see rapidly changing learning trend from one-on-one to purely online e-learning, especially in this pandemic world? And what are the challenges you see in the chain, and how can we overcome it? Online e-learning, especially in the pandemic world. So, definitely, Vishal, all of the practices and the issues that we spoke are a byproduct of how the digital era has brought. Uh, so I think attention span, the reduced attention span, the the time, the focus is something that we have to fight for. We would have people taking the Teams call, Teams learning, and they would be doing something on their own. So creating those learning and engaging session which people are truly motivated to take, and more of a pull approach rather than a push approach, is something going to be a game changer. Any approach to enable this for employees working in the shop floor? So I'm assuming, Kaveri, this question is for the digital setup. If you could just type, if it is for the face to face, I'm assuming that is what your question is, that how do we implement this in the face to face scenario. Definitely all of that you see can be converted into the face to face scenario as well. Meant to it is meant to be implemented in any scenario. So if there are micro learnings, why not run a short series of videos which are micro learnings? If you have screens on the shop floor, why not have those clips running? Or if there are if you have speakers, why not have the coffee breaks where people talk about their experiences. So these are the concepts or the trends, I would say, you can apply on in any platform, be it digital, be it offline. So personalization, you can personalize the learning that they do. You can offer them the way they like. uh, it could be on the shop floor, it could be is it a like training room like structure where whether they would like to learn, is it like a open outdoor learning. So personalization, I think all of this can be applied to any scenario which you have. Any best tool you would like to suggest for gamification? So there are a lot of apps and tools at the moment available for gamification. Uh, uh, what comes as a very minimal cost is, if you would like to build up something on your own and do just Excel tracking, I think that is good enough to get started. And if you are looking for something which is more, I would say, professional, there are a lot of providers in the market which kind of build something very relevant to uh, our own programs. I've seen some of the organization running the gamified onboarding, where you have a game, you kind of go through the various levels in the organization. You actually reach out to them, ask some questions. So I would suggest, if you would like to go for something which is low budget, start with the Excel, and there are a lot of market providers who can kind of help you with the standard applications. There's a question. Things are challenging. Things are changing again. Few are work from home and few are in office, and L&D strategies has also to change, still to experience. Yes, because that's correct. I think as we now move backward into the office, it is going to be our next challenge, where you will have the hybrid setting, and that's going to be the another challenge to look at, where you some of your people are in office and some of your folks are still working digitally. So I think striking a right balance, and again providing the right providing the personalized approach would be a key here. People can choose the way they would like to learn, whether they would like to learn it classroom way or they would like to learn it in the digital way. Personalizing it will be something that will stay long term. With virtual learning, any best practices to ensure that learners are paying attention and implementing learning? Thanks, Johnson, for that question. I think that is something we all are facing day in and out. So you can never control what learners are doing in parallel. You can never control that. So rather than that micro level of controlling, what is best is to see how how what is the impact that is being made, and how the things are being implementing. I think the results will say how the learning has been done. And if we pick up the gamified approach, I think that is something that keeps people engaged in the uh, uh, in the during the learning program. So that's the way where people can stick to the screen in a gamified way, again in a micro learning format, because whenever they get bored, they're going to get bored, and they're going to split off their attention. So a combination of the way you gamify it and you keep it very short, it's going to be the key here. Even after good marketing, it has been a challenge to get employees to attend. How to address this? Thanks for the question, Sharath. I think uh, marketing has its own limitation to the way it can pull people. There also has to be some mandate where uh, you see a learning tied to the OKR or their goal, so that it should be mandated from the way. It could be either the mandatory option or it should trickle down from the leadership. So the way I said, when we had this problem, when we were trying to launch the deal program, we had people shying out and no one was really open to share. So we started with the leaders. And when they see the leaders, let's say a learning program, you have a leader talking about it, a leader endorsing that program, the chances of you buying in is much more. So I think there's a combination of multiple approaches you can use. First is mandating it, using it, or putting it as a part of KRA and OKR. If that sounds little harsh and not possible in every scenario, then it should be a top-down approach. It should come from the leaders. You can have a sponsor or a mentor who can endorse that program, who can talk about the program, so that there is a better buy-in.
Oh, okay, Ankita, I think we don't have any more questions, I believe, apart from this.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we have another 6 minutes in case if anybody has any questions, they can post. And also, there was a question. I think there were some issues with my this thing, and I could not answer. So about the recording, yes, the recordings will be emailed to all the people who have registered, who have joined the session, and also on our website, there's a separate page of events, webinar and events. There you can find the recordings of previous webinar, current webinar, technical webinars. Everything will be available. So even for your employees, if you want to, share the recordings of the technical webinars, you can absolutely make use of our website. That's a platform. So any more questions we have received?
I see some questions on the chat.
Okay.
I see a question from Soumya. As you know, we the LND team are known for our creative email. Can you share tips or source to improve our creativity and make our email more attractive? Thanks for this question, Soumya. I think what personally we have implemented, I think we would have at Finastra, we would have one of the if they were quotient, we would score high in people not reading emails. So we faced it long back, and we have reduced our marketing strategy to only images, and we've tried doing that with how what it works with images, and that has sort of yielded us a lot of results. A lot of people are at least a single click image or just an image, and if they need information, then a link to follow. So that has really worked. You could also try the this presentation technique of power of three, where we formulate every message in three. uh, if I have to pick up an example, the taglines, just do it, or yes, you are. So you can pick up, we can try doing that, use the taglines and images. And the key is really to keep the ingredient changing every time. So if you probably this month, if you're using a strategy of images, next month you do something else. When you shock people with the content, if there's something different, they would want to note it. They would want to see what is there. So you can use the strategies and keep changing the strategy is the best strategy, I would say. There's a question from Harish. Apart from Microsoft Digital Learning, are you also implementing any other e-learning for technical trainings? Yes, Harish. So we are using Pluralsight extensively, Pluralsight and LinkedIn Learning. Both of it are a great source of learning. LinkedIn basically for the beginners, and Pluralsight for those who would like to do a deep dive or who would like to have sandboxes. I think that comes with multiple features like sandbox, skill IQs, role IQs. So uh, that's a great tool I would personally recommend. Hemant asked that for manufacturing unit on the job is best. How can we use online method? So if at all you have no access to online options, Hemant, I think all of these strategies you should use in the offline methods also. Use the use the micro learning. Keep the content very similar. Do not run like 2 to 3 days workshop. Gone are the days for it. Break it in bites. Do the bite-sized sessions. Make it more and more gamified. If you the gamified classroom sessions, keep it short, keep it simple. I think all of these tech and create conditions for people to learn. So all of this should hold true for any online or any offline mechanism.
Okay. Are there any more questions, Ankita?
I am just scrolling through if I've missed any question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we are through. If there any more question, feel free to post. And I think we're on the top of the hour. So over to you.
All right, Ankita, thank you so much for delivering such a wonderful session, especially you bringing in your best practices. And when you just it was a lot of takeaways for all the leaders, especially in the changing environment, how to build a learning culture with various such initiatives that you have taken in your organization, whether it could be in a personalizing front or a gamification, micro learning, or with the rewards and recognition. It was really fantastic session, and I definitely feel that there was a lot of takeaways for the participants. And thank you very much for taking time out and coming and delivering such a wonderful session. Ha- Uh, that's about it, Ankita. Thank you once again.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking out time and being such wonderful and lovely audience. Thank you so much. And thank you, Naveen and Vinod, for providing me this opportunity and share my knowledge with all of you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Ankita.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day ahead. We'll look forward for another session like this, and maybe you can join with us. And if anybody is interested to deliver a session to share your best practices, you're all welcome. Thank you.